All right, it's good to meet you. My name is Lisa Lilienfeld, and I'm a graduate student in the clinical psychology program at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology in Washington, D.C., and my supervisor's name is Dr. Smith. And today we'll be doing a 50-minute intake interview where I'll be asking you a number of questions about the reason that you're here today, and also I'll be asking you some other questions about your background to help put your current issues into some context. And I'll probably be taking some notes as we go along. Do you have any questions so far? Okay. Because you're an adult, everything that we cover here is confidential. There are just a few potential exceptions to that I want to mention. So one is if you let me know about any child abuse, elder abuse, or abuse of any other vulnerable population, even if you have nothing to do with that, I'm a mandated reporter of that, okay? If you give me reason to believe that you're in imminent danger of harming yourself or someone else, I would need to try to do something to intervene with that. It could involve breaking confidentiality. A third thing is if you were to become involved in any sort of legal proceedings, potentially down the road, it's possible that a court can mandate release of assessment records or treatment records.
Okay.
And then other than that, I'd mentioned that I'm a psychology graduate student, and so I will be consulting with my supervisor about this interview, and she's the only one I'll be discussing it with, and so it's confidential within the two of us.
Okay.
Do you have any questions at all?
No.
All right, and then one maybe final thing is, as I mentioned, is in supervision and graduate program. So we record all of these interviews. You see, there's a recording system here, and so the purpose of that is in order to give me feedback about what we're doing. So it's really for me, and I have a form that describes the purpose of it and the fact that after it has been reviewed with my supervisor, then we destroy that. So if you can maybe take a look at that, read through it, and let me know if you have any questions. And if you don't, you can just sign that if questions. Okay.
No questions.
All right. Very good. Okay. Can you think of anything that you have questions about that you want to ask me before we get started?
So if I kind of talk to you after this, or can you call my primary care or any other people that I'm working with?
Can I? Yeah, that's a good question. So that's something that I was actually going to ask you about in the interview, and so this is good that you're bringing up. So if you are working with any other treatment provider on anything that seems like it could be relevant to anything that we're discussing or that we would work on together potentially, if we both think that it would be useful for me to communicate with that person, which often it can be, then I would get you to sign what's called a consent for release of information. And if you sign that, you're authorizing that communication for the purpose of treatment planning and trying to put our heads together to be able to communicate like that. So that's not something I would do without your official authorization. So if you decide that you'd like to do that, and I think it would be helpful as well, I have some forms that we can do that later in our interview. Okay. Anything else that?
No, this time.
Okay. Well, why don't we start with you telling me what brings you here today?
So I've just been noticing that I just feel really overwhelmed, and I can't stop thinking about my diet regimen and my workout regimen, and I just feel really overwhelmed, and then I find it hard to get out of bed some days. So.
Okay. All right. So diet, workout, lots of focus on that.
Yeah.
And then an additional, do you feel like the hard to get out of bed, does that feel like a separate issue, or do you think that's related in some way?
Maybe it's because I'm so tired from working out all the time. But
Okay.
And then the other thing is it's just really hard to concentrate.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And how long would you say that you've been struggling with the things that you've just described here?
Oh, since I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like early high school? Because you're 24 now. 11th grade, so what's that, about 16 or so?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's about 8 years or so,
Yeah.
quite some time. And what you're describing now in terms of a lot of focus on exercise and your diet regimen, and then issues with getting up and concentrating, When all of that stuff, when do you think it's been at its worst?
Since 2013. Since in the last couple of months, it's gotten worse.
Okay, so right now it's actually on a worsening trajectory. Can you describe a little further what is worse, and maybe I'm guessing that because it's worse, is that why you're seeking treatment now? Is there anything in particular that happened that led you to come here now?
No, I just think I've become more obsessed with the food I'm eating and how much I'm working out and how I feel when I don't work out. So I just think more recently in the last 3-4 months it's gotten worse.
Okay, so it's morning now. Would you be able to, just so I have a few specifics to be able to maybe be most helpful, if you can think about yesterday as best as you can, would you be able to take me through the day in terms of the eating part of it?
Sure.
And what you recall about eating as specifically as you can?
So I woke up yesterday, I had 2 glasses of water, and then I had a 90-calorie Greek yogurt, light and fit, with a banana.
Okay, and what time was that? Do you remember?
9:30.
Okay.
And then around noon, I had a salad, just kind of romaine lettuce with some cucumbers and oil and vinegar dressing. And then at 3 o'clock, I had an apple, and that was my snack. And then for dinner, I had some chicken and broccoli.
Okay. And that was around what time?
7.
Okay. And would it be a size and amount that one would maybe typically get in a restaurant, or what you'd see other people eating, or did it seem smaller or larger?
I measured out my chicken, so I had 6 ounces of protein and then a cup of broccoli.
Okay. And anything else to eat or drink during the day?
Just a lot of water.
Okay. Can you estimate how much water you think you might drink during the day?
64 ounces.
Okay, so it's measured out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you ever drink anything else?
No.
Okay. And this day, so that was really helpful to get that kind of detail. Would you say that yesterday was a very typical day for you lately?
Yeah, maybe more calories than normal. I try to not have the apple if I don't need the apple, but yeah.
Okay.
So most days the none are like that.
Okay. And it has been, and the timing, is that quite regimented for you, that it's important to do it at those exact times?
Yeah, because then I have enough time to digest and start a workout.
Mm-hmm. And tell me more about the workout. You can talk about yesterday, if that was a typical day, or...
So I woke up and I did 60 push-ups, 60 curl-ups, and 60 burpees. And then after lunch, I went for a 3-mile jog. And then at night, I went for a walk with my mom.
Okay. How long was that?
About an hour.
Okay. And would you say that amount of exercise in terms of timing and intensity is typical?
When I'm not tired, yeah. So about 4 days a week.
So that what you just described to me is happening about 4 days a week,
yeah.
And the other 3 days less or nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and what would you say for you, in your opinion, maybe the most troubling consequences of either of those things, so the regimented diet or the regimented exercise that you're doing? Are you thinking that you're having some struggles as a result of that? Tell me your own opinion about it.
I just, I feel like all I do is think about what I'm going to eat next and when I'm going to work out, and sometimes that gets really overwhelming and I get really stressed about it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't, more recently I'm not getting the results that I want. Usually I can push down my weight and it's not working anymore.
Okay. What is, can you tell me your current height and weight?
I am 5'5" and 112 pounds.
Okay. And when you started on this regimen, so you said actually it's been since about junior year in high school. Can you, before you started doing anything in particular to try to alter your weight, do you recall what your just natural weight was before then?
140.
Okay. And then what's the highest and the lowest it's ever been?
One time I got to 170. That was in college.
Okay.
And yeah, got it back down.
Okay, and what's the lowest it's ever been?
95.
Okay. And the highest was in college. Do you remember what years or for how long?
Freshman year.
Okay. And the lowest weight was when?
Right before I went to college.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so in terms of the timeline, things kind of,
Right.
you got focused on it in 11th grade, and then your weight
Right.
dropped a whole lot.
Yeah, so I think beginning of senior year of high school, I would say was my lowest.
Okay.
So I felt best.
Okay. And did you lose your menstrual cycle at that time?
Yeah.
And how long was that gone for?
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you had it back fairly regularly since then?
Yeah, but I'm on birth control, so I don't know
see.
if that's affecting it.
Yeah.
Right now, I haven't.
Okay. But you lost it for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you recall when things got rolling in 11th grade, like what kind of precipitated deciding to do something differently with regard to eating or exercise?
Well, I was on the swim team, and I
Uh-huh.
really wanted to kind of look good when I was swimming because all these other girls were just so thin, and I just felt like the bigger girl on the team. So I started this diet in addition to swimming.
Okay. Did you get any? So that was in some thoughts that you were having. Did you have any feedback from anybody, either peers or from your family, that contributed as well?
Well, my dad said that I looked really good, and my dad said I wasn't fat anymore. So
After you lost weight.
yeah, after I lost the weight.
And how about before?
Before I lost the weight, he said that he's in the military, so they're really kind of dedicated to working out and fitness. And he said that people choose to be at a certain weight, and if I was kind of a bigger girl, I was choosing to be fat. So,
Okay.
And my mom's really thin, and my mom works out a lot. So when I lost the weight, I got so much attention from everyone on the team and guys, and my parents were like, "You look great."
So it's really, really reinforcing in that way.
Yeah.
So both your parents are quite focused, you'd say, on fitness and kind of like body appearance. And are they? Do they both have thinner, leaner bodies?
Yeah.
You're saying, okay. Yeah. And your mom, do you think she does a whole lot to achieve that? Is she very focused on eating and exercise?
She's vegan, so she eats like very healthy all the time.
Okay. How long has that been true for her?
I don't know, just from as long as I remember, she's always been vegan.
And how about your dad?
He eats meat, but he's just like very focused. Will wake up, run 10 miles, and lifts weight, and just very active.
Okay, is he active military right now?
Yeah.
Okay. And so is he home or is he?
He's home, but he's just always in really good shape.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And are there any other siblings that you have?
I have 2 sisters, one older and one younger.
Okay. And what in this realm in terms of body image, eating, exercise, how about them?
My sister's a bigger girl, and she doesn't really work out, and she eats whatever she wants. And my younger sister is really thin, and it just comes easy to her. She can eat whatever she wants, doesn't have to work out, and she's just thin.
And do you think neither of them have any particular issues or concerns about body or eating or anything?
No, not. I mean, my older sister doesn't care, and my younger sister is just happy all the time. So.
Okay, so they have quite different body types, but equally uncaring about it.
Right.
But you had this experience where you got some feedback,
Yeah.
and then so things really took a very, very drastic turn in terms of your weight. So back in high school there, what sorts of things were you doing to try to push down your weight initially?
Just crunches and swimming, and crunches and swimming, and just really watching what I was eating.
So restricting your eating a lot, kind of like this, or maybe, okay. And what about other things to manage your weight? For instance, make yourself throw up, as an example.
No.
Is that anything that you've ever done?
No,
Okay.
I don't like throwing up. So.
Okay. How about any other things, like diet pills or any kind of medicines to try to?
I think diet pills I was using a lot of those in college, like my freshman year, when I put that weight on.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And freshman year, I was using a lot of diet pills.
You mean like as a response to having gained weight that you were? Yeah. Okay. Do you remember? Was it like over-the-counter stuff?
It was Hydroxycut. That was and so I was just taking it as it said on the bottle, but it just made me feel really jittery all the time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that can do that. Anything else that you recall? So you felt like jittery, not so good like that?
Well, when I take my Adderall, I also don't have an appetite, so that sometimes helps too.
Okay, how long have you been on that?
Since my sophomore year of college.
Okay, and how did that come about? Who's prescribing that? And...
Well, I was having a really hard time concentrating after I lost all that weight,
Mm-hmm.
and I told my the health clinic, and they said that I probably had ADHD. So they've been giving me Adderall, and I still get it now.
Okay, and what's the impact of that, either positive or negative for you from the Adderall?
I can concentrate and I can have a conversation. I feel like I can also think.
Okay.
And then the other positive is I don't have an appetite when I take it, and I can work out longer.
Okay. So it gives you, so it suppresses your appetite and allows you to work out, and then on the flip side, you're saying that you feel like you're also getting some more fatigue, like in the morning too. Can you tell me more about that?
So if I take my Adderall the day before, like say I take it at like 9 o'clock, I'll be fine, and then I'll take my second pill in the afternoon, but then the next morning when I don't take it, I'm so tired. Just so hard to like...
So you take it, you kind of alter the amount that you take it, and that's determined by what?
What my doctor says.
Oh, but I thought you were saying that like one day you might take it morning and afternoon, and then you wouldn't take it the next day. Is that?
If I run out, I won't take it the next day.
If you run out. So have you ever used more than was prescribed for you?
Sometimes.
Okay.
And so that's why I sometimes run out.
Run out, yeah. Okay, and what might lead you to do? Do you know what the prescription is? How often?
So I take the 20s, they're the blue ones, and I take them twice a day.
Okay, and what is the actual prescription for? Is that the written prescription?
Yeah,
is that?
It's twice a day. But sometimes I'll take like an extra one.
I see. Okay. Has that ever run you into any trouble, either with the doc, with the prescribing person, or just yourself having any symptoms from it?
Like I said, I just feel like better when I'm on it, but I feel like I might be addicted to it.
And why do you say that?
Just because I need it to function. Like when I was younger, I didn't, like when I was in college, I didn't need it as much, but now I feel like I need it to start my day.
With regard to energy or concentration, or both? Yeah. What is your theory about the energy and concentration? Do you have any thoughts about that? Like what's going on?
No.
Yeah. So I mostly have some more questions for you, and you've already shared a whole lot, which is very, very helpful. One thing I'll just mention, and we can follow up on it maybe another time if we decide to work together, but one thing that strikes me is, although I know you've described you've been doing this for some time, kind of trying to control your eating because you've been unhappy with your weight and the exercise, what is a very, very common occurrence for nearly everyone who restricts their eating for any reason is that a few things tend to happen. You can tell me if any of this is true for you. It can make concentration much worse. One of the reasons is that without the amount of calories and energy coming in that your body, even if your mind doesn't want it, your body might want it, it kind of takes away, usually makes people think a lot about food and eating, even if they're not doing it. They get like really obsessed with it, and that's a natural response to not having as much food coming in as your body might actually want, and so it can make people distractible, it can make them irritable, it can disrupt sleep, it can impair energy, it can make somebody actually depressed, or if they were a bit depressed before, it can make it worse. If they were a bit like ruminating, thinking round and round about things, having like a limited calorie intake can make that part worse. So I don't know if any of that seems at all familiar to you, but that's kind of natural consequences of some food restriction.
So you're saying that potentially all these other things that I'm feeling, like the being tired, the overthinking, and it's like hard to concentrate, that's because of my diet?
It could be influenced by it. I would need to get some more history from you, but it is very, very common and actually really predictable that that's what most people do experience. So I can't say for sure that that's the case, or for sure that there aren't other things contributing, but I would go so far as to say it is likely that it's a contributor. So we can, we can discuss that some more later, because I know it's a bit of a bind you probably feel like you're in with all of this. Now, when you were the weight fluctuation has been quite significant. What was going on when freshman year? It's very normal for a lot of people to gain weight freshman year, although this was obviously quite a significant gain.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about what your eating looked like then?
Well, I was in college, so I could eat the cafeteria food, and I was eating grilled cheese. I was eating cheeseburgers. They had this milkshake machine. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my friends were thin, and they were eating whatever they wanted. And so I just thought that my body was going to be like theirs since I had been thin for a while.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't waking up to work out because we'd go out and I'd have some drinks. And so then I was more hungover. And I just ate, I think, normal.
Okay. So that's what I was going to follow up with. Do you think either then or at any time in your life you've experienced what we would call a binge, where you ate a very large amount of food, much larger than most people would eat in a similar circumstance, in a discrete period of time in a way that felt very out of control?
Yeah, no. It was not out of control. It was just like I was just eating when I was hungry, and just eating normal.
Okay, so this time you feel like you were eating potentially a lot of food, and maybe your body was like a little...
Yeah, I think my body, I think I've always been this hungry. I just feel like I was better at controlling it before I went to college and then after, but I think I was just eating like a normal amount of calories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So you've never had like a loss of control while eating like that? Okay. And how would you describe your body image right now?
I hate the way I look.
Can you say more about it? What do you hate?
I look in the mirror and I just see like different parts of me that have fat and cellulite, and I just feel like I should be thinner, and I don't think I'm pretty. I don't think I look good. And I hate the way I look.
And you felt that way for how long?
Since I was in high school.
Yeah, so that's been quite persistent since then. Did you have a little relief from it when your weight was very low?
It was, but I just felt like I could get down more.
Okay, so some relief, but it was never like okay.
Right. I think when I was 95 pounds, I started to kind of relax a little bit, but then I was like, but you could be 90.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think, this might be hard to answer, but do you have any reason to think that you might see your body differently than other people do currently?
Yeah, because like when I was 170, I was probably the same size as my older sister, and she was happy with the way she looked. She doesn't care that so we were sharing clothes at that point, and she was totally fine with the way she looked.
Yeah.
But I hated the way I looked when I was that big.
And how about now? Do you think that your perception of your size is probably what other people see? Do you have any reason to think it could be different?
I mean, well, my dad agrees with me when I'm bigger that I don't look good, and my mom says that I look better when I'm smaller. But I don't know, maybe it could be off a little bit, because when I was 95, I still didn't think I looked great, but everyone else thought I looked great. So maybe it's a little off.
Okay. How much of your overall kind of how you feel about yourself overall, self-worth maybe we'd call it, is determined by how you feel about your body?
I would say my self-worth is based on how I look.
A lot of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the thought of gaining weight, becoming fat, how does that, tell me what that feels like?
I just feel really nervous and anxious about it. I can't sleep. That's all I'm thinking about is what if I gain weight? What if I get back to 170? That's not good. So it just makes me overwhelmed, and I can't calm down.
Okay. Have there been any other ill effects as far as you know? We were talking about it's possible that the energy and the concentration, mood effects from this stuff could be possible. Is there anything else medically or otherwise that has happened recently from restricting your eating or when you were at your lowest weight?
I get really lightheaded when I work out too hard, and sometimes I pass out.
Okay, how often does that happen?
It's happened a couple times last month, so like 3 times.
And what's the worst thing that's happened from that? Have you ever hit your head?
Yeah, one time my dad found me on the floor, and I don't remember falling, and I had a bump on my head.
Okay. Have you sought medical attention from any of these?
My dad said I was fine, so.
Okay, so you've never gone to the ER or the doc for it. Okay. How many times do you think you might have passed out?
In life?
Yeah, related to being like lightheaded, working out.
Like in high school, it happened more when I was like down. Yeah, I was happening a lot, and they would just give me like Gatorade. If I was like swimming or doing a sport, I would just get Gatorade and sugar.
Okay. Okay.
So.
All right. Tell me about just transitioning a bit from what you've been speaking about. I was kind of alluding to mood and some other things. Can you tell me what your mood is like currently?
Flat. I just don't feel great.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I put on a really good show for like my family and my friends, but like not great.
Okay. Okay. And would you say that currently would you describe yourself as persistently down most of the day, nearly every day?
Yeah.
And how long have you felt like that?
Since like college, 2013.
Oh,
Yeah.
Consistently since
Yeah.
then. So persistently down most of the day, nearly every day since 2013 without much of a break.
Well, because I kind of got kicked out of college.
Why is that?
Because I couldn't like wake up for class and I couldn't concentrate, and like I was on the Adderall, but it just like it wasn't helping. So I'm not in school, and like I'm not working because I can't get a job because I don't have a degree. So I'm just kind of like hanging out all day.
When did you get dismissed from school?
So sophomore year in 2013.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So, and you think, and it was because, as far as you know, because you were not able to just
passing.
get.
Yeah. I was dismissed academically.
Okay. What kind of a student were you in high school?
I was a great student. I had like A's and B's. Like I was a good student. I was smart. So
this really wasn't an academic ability kind of thing. This was really about
like I just couldn't like
stuff.
Get up to do the things that I needed to do, and then like when I had to study, when I had to read, I just couldn't focus. And the Adderall, like, I mean, it helps me stay alert and stay awake, but it doesn't help me the way it used to.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I'm going to ask you more about that in just a moment. I just want to ask because we were talking about mood. I'll probably cover more of that if we were to meet again, but I just want to ask if things have ever been so bad for you currently or in the past that you were thinking a lot about death or that you'd be better off dead.
No.
Okay. Have you ever had the experience of intentionally harming yourself, even if it wasn't for the purpose of dying, cutting or burning yourself, something to potentially inflict harm?
Sometimes I pinch myself when I'm hungry.
Okay.
And that kind of like stops me being hungry. But
anything else?
No.
Okay. What about the opposite of, we're talking about kind of low mood, what about the opposite? Have you ever had the experience of feeling not just happy or good, but so good, high or hyper, not from medicine, but just like that people thought you weren't your normal self or you got into trouble?
No, but that sounds like my sister. She is
Which sister?
The older one.
Uh-huh.
She's got bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
She's been hospitalized for that.
Yeah.
She gets like really like happy and then like really sad. So.
And how old is she?
She is 26.
Okay. And do you know when that first was noticed in her?
When she was 18.
Okay. She's been hospitalized once or more than once?
Yeah. She came after me with a knife one time. So my
right?
Dad and my mom were in the hospital.
And so she was in a manic episode,
yeah.
Is that right?
She really mad at me.
Okay. And has she ever done anything to try to end her life?
She's taken pills before, but we like got to her in time.
Okay. And is she, how is the illness for her now? Is she well managed on medicine or is it?
She's taking her medication and she's living with her boyfriend and right now she's good, but
okay.
It was scary in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. How about the rest of the family? So both of your sisters, both of your parents, and then could be like extended family as well. What else do you know in terms of issues with mood, suicide, any kind of other emotional or behavioral issues, eating, body image, you talked about some, the anxiety, any of that, substances? Tell me what you know about anybody in your family with any of those things.
I think my mom's mom was depressed.
Okay.
But I don't really remember that. I just remember my mom saying that the depression probably hit my older sister. Other than that, I don't think there's any history of drugs or mental illness other than my grandma on my mom's side.
Okay, nobody else with anxiety, bipolar, or anything that maybe you might have heard of schizophrenia with unusual thoughts or nothing like that?
Not that I know.
Okay. And your younger sister, free and clear, none of these issues?
She's great. She's a golden child. None of problems.
Okay. How old is she?
18.
Okay. And what's your relationship like with your sisters?
It's good now. It was more complicated in the past, but me and my younger sister get along better than me and my older sister, but my older sister is there when I need her.
Okay. Who do you think's like the greatest sources of support for you?
My mom and my sisters.
Yeah. Okay. How about any friends? What does that look like for you?
I used to have more friends, but then they said that I was being too crazy with my dieting, and I always wanted to work out, and they always wanted to go out, and going out led to more drinking, so I stayed away from them. So
okay. And so have you lost them as friends?
Yeah,
would you say?
just kind of grew apart.
Okay, but you were spending, your focus was on doing the like not wanting to drink and okay. Would you say that you have any friends now at this point?
Like my neighbor, but that's really it.
And who do you live with now?
My parents.
Okay. And is it is the younger sister in the house as well, or is it just the three?
She's at college.
Okay, so it's you and your parents. Okay. And has that been so since 2013?
Yeah.
That you've been with them?
Yeah.
Okay. So the friends that you had, not so much, no longer. You're close with your sisters and your mom, but you haven't been in school. And have you worked at all in that time?
I mean, I volunteered a little bit at like this nursing home, but it wasn't paid, so I have to stay home and live here.
What, if anything, else are you doing in a typical day? You're very focused on your eating regimen and your exercise. Is that pretty much the entirety of your day?
Yeah.
Are there any hobbies that you used to be on a swim team? I know. Any other hobbies that you do have that you're not doing or used to have?
I used to have I used to be part of like the swim team and stuff, but then I don't know. After college, I just didn't want to do anything. I used to have like more friends. I used to go out, but now I'm just kind of like I just stay home, eat my meals, work out. I'll see my parents, but that's really it.
Yeah. Okay, so it's really changed. And when you were younger, before all this started in 11th grade, anything else besides swim that you have been interested in?
I played soccer, and I tutored English. But that was like when I was smart and could do things. Now I can't do that.
Yeah, well, it's people's smartness doesn't change with time, but there are some things that can impair your thinking or concentrating, and like we said, it's possible that some of what you've been struggling with is relevant to understanding that. How about romantic relationships, currently or in the past? Ever had any?
2000, like my freshman year of college, I was dating this guy, and he was great, and then he said that I put on too much weight, and so then we broke up, and I haven't really dated since then.
Not since then? Okay. So you've had some exposure to some critical
people call me cruel.
Yeah, you think that had an influence on all this?
I think it makes me want to be a better person, like look-wise.
To improve your appearance, to try to feel better about things. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Okay. With regard to your family or yourself, is religion at all a part of your life or anything that's important to you?
My parents are Catholic.
Okay, and how important is that for you?
I go to church when I go to church, but I'm not like living by it. I'm not completely committed to the whole idea of like a God and stuff. So.
Okay, so it's
just something that I do with them.
Not opposed to it, but not particularly important to you.
Right.
Okay. Have you had any legal issues of any sort for any reason in your life?
No.
Okay. So you had mentioned alcohol, and that was one of the things that really seemed like no longer a good fit with your friends. So currently, what is your current alcohol?
I don't drink.
Not at all.
I'll have like a glass of wine with my mom on the days that I can afford to put it into my diet, but other than that, yeah.
Okay. Was there a time that you were drinking?
Yeah, I was drinking a lot of beer in college. A lot of beer.
Yeah. What is a lot?
Like 8 beers a night. I could really drink.
Mm-hmm. And was that every night for a period of
It
time?
was like 2-3 nights a week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What year was that in school?
Freshman year, so 2012.
Okay. And what was the worst, if any, consequences of that for you?
I'd wake up and didn't know what happened, and I would just get really drunk.
So you'd have, you'd black out for
Yeah.
periods of time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
I mean, my friend said that I was, like, really wild and, like, I don't know, just, like, yeah, really wild and loud, but then the next morning I'd feel like crap, so,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would just eat a lot of, like, not a lot, but, like, I would just eat, like, grilled cheese to, like, soak up all my alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything? So no, you never got in trouble with the law or anything?
No.
Anything that was, that you learned about or recall that was, like, particularly dangerous or...
No.
Okay. What do you think? So what do you think the worst thing when you were drinking the worst consequence for you?
I just think those hangovers were really bad, and I think I was just probably loud, obnoxious, and maybe I didn't say too many nice things to people, but
Okay.
yeah, it wasn't anything like crazy.
Okay. How often did you drive when you were under the influence?
There was one time, but like I don't remember what happened. I just remember that my friends said to never do it again, and I remember I parked really crooked and like hanged up my bumper, but that was one time, and I never did it again.
Okay. Okay. How about other drugs then, or any other time? What's your drug use been?
I smoked some pot in college, but then I would eat after I smoked pot, so I'm staying away from that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Was that at the same time that you were drinking more?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how often do you think you were smoking back then?
2 or 3 times a week. Like, when I wasn't drinking, I was smoking.
Alternating that. Okay. And that lasted for about how long?
Oh, I couldn't afford it after college, so until I dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And other drugs?
No.
Okay. So you left school. Was it your sophomore year that you left?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
October.
Yeah.
It was the middle semester.
Okay. And did you have a major at the time or not yet?
I was looking at being pre-med, but that's really hard work. So.
Yeah. Okay. But that's something that you had in mind, that you could see yourself being a doctor.
Right.
Yeah. So that was an interest of yours.
It was from like high school until I got to college, and then once I got kicked out, you can't go to med school if you're kicked out of school. So.
What's it look like on your record? Do you know?
Just as W's withdrawn from every class, and then I like had a 2.0 or 2 point something, and just wasn't good.
Yeah, but you had liked science and had been good.
I had been good in high school.
Yeah, so the stuff interfered with
that.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned a few things in terms of lightheaded, passing out. Any other medical stuff currently or in the past of note that maybe led to hospitalization or illnesses, surgeries, things like that? You mentioned you banged your head once, potentially, when you lost consciousness. Any other head injuries that you're aware of? Okay. And medicine now, you mentioned the Adderall. What else? Any other meds?
I was on Wellbutrin for a little bit after college, but I didn't it made me feel like I was gaining weight. So, and I was trying to lose then. Really wanted to lose weight. So,
who was prescribing that?
My primary care.
Okay. Have you been in any kind of treatment, counseling, therapy, hospital, outpatient, anything at all, before this?
So there's a women's health clinic out in, I think it's Vienna.
Yeah.
And I was seeing someone there. I was seeing the social worker tell me to get a job.
Okay. When was that?
4 months ago.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
I still kind of see her to touch base about getting a job.
Okay.
And then I was seeing a therapist, but she actually she was older, and she actually just stopped calling me to schedule appointments. So that's why I came to here.
I see. And was that a therapist at the Women's Center? Or somebody?
It was a private person.
Okay. And when were you seeing that person?
I've seen her for about 6 months, and it stopped 4 months ago.
Okay, and then you went to the women's center.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So you were seeing that person, that older woman, for 6 months, and what did you do there? What did you
So I
focus on?
came in for depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
But she said she thought I had like an eating disorder.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I just think it's like dieting, just working out. I mean, now that you're saying that it can potentially affect my mood and my anxiety, maybe that's why I feel like crap all the time. But I just didn't want to believe what she was saying, because what she was kind of telling me was that I would have to like eat more.
Yeah. Well, again, we can. We're pretty short on time in terms of the intake, but we can definitely revisit it, especially because it sounds like there's some unanswered questions. But the two things aren't completely and totally different. Like most people, when they develop an eating disorder, usually starts with dieting, and then certain people respond to diets in different ways, and certain people have the capacity to lose weight like very quickly and significantly and have some problems with that, and then it's very natural for people to not just regain weight but to gain past where they started because metabolism gets impacted. So I understand that you feel like you're in a jam because right now that's the main method that you have developed to try to manage how you feel and to feel better. Mm-hmm. And so to hear somebody tell you that, you may need to eat more is a bit, disconcerting. I understand. It's something that we can talk some more about, but that you didn't stop going to her for that reason. You're saying that she kind of,
calling me to schedule appointments. Like, I hope she's okay.
Yeah.
But
okay.
It was weird.
Yeah. To what extent do you think that was helpful for you, any of that work with her?
I liked working with her. I felt like we did a lot of kind of like talk therapy, and she said, we did a lot of talk therapy and just kind of problem solving.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. So, and we can speak about what might come next here. I think I'm sure there's much, much more that I can learn about you. You've shared a tremendous amount. One thing that doesn't really fit with what we were just talking about, but I realized I didn't ask you. I'd asked about your family and any problems in your family, and I asked you a few things, but I didn't ask if you had ever had the experience of having any unusual experiences, like seeing things that other people didn't see, or hearing things that other people didn't hear, or having beliefs that others didn't share, like people like plotting against you, or no. Okay. Is there anything, again, like I said, there's probably tons more I could learn about you, but given the sorts of things that I've covered here, is there anything else that I haven't asked right now that you think would be useful for me to know in order to kind of get this information to try to figure out where we might go from here?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. One maybe last thing before we wrap up. We had spoken about high school. We had spoken some about school and peers. I hadn't asked you about very, very early in life. Do you know anything did you learn anything from your parents about when you were born, your birth, like anything unusual about it, everything like normal, anything out of the ordinary?
Nope. My mom had a normal birthing process, and I hit my milestones. I walked before like 15 months, and I talked on time.
They told you all that?
Yeah, I was good.
Okay.
And I feel like I was like a normal kid. Like I was happy as a kid.
You were?
Yeah.
So it's just this
school,
part of your life that
middle school was even fine. Like,
really?
Yeah, I just felt like in high school when I started to like gain weight a little bit, or like be a little bit bigger, that's when I feel like things started to snowball. But then I lost weight, and I got a lot of attention for that. So
yeah. So this is what we can kind of maybe wrap up here in these last few minutes and figure out where to go from here. So it just from what I've heard from you, it does, like you were just saying, it seems like the earlier part of your life things were going pretty well, even during times that are sometimes struggles for people, going well, and then things really took a turn downward where you just didn't feel quite right about how you were looking, how you're feeling, got some feedback from one or both parents when you were on the swim team, and then changed your eating, just trying to be, just trying to make some changes there to feel better. And then ever since then, things just kind of took a turn that never could quite get to a place of feeling okay. And then you got some feedback, perhaps it's an eating disorder. And so just from what you've shared with me, what you're describing is a somewhat common experience where somebody would struggle for this long. They haven't, worked with somebody getting help on it, just trying to do what might not seem that out of the ordinary. But unfortunately, after some time of doing eating restriction and like regimented exercise, some things can happen, like maybe some of what you're describing in terms of mood and energy and concentration. So the thing, if you are interested, we can wrap up. Like I said, I consult with my supervisor to kind of put our heads together and then provide you with some more feedback if you were to be interested in potentially pursuing treatment. It's possible that we would, maybe even likely, I would say, that we would be addressing some of these eating and body image things, because it sounds like they're so long-standing and they've really, really run you into trouble. But it would really be most important for me, if we were to work together, to find out what your treatment priorities are. What would be most important to you that you'd be trying to achieve in treatment.
I think I'm sick of this life that I'm living, and I need, something's got to give, because I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah. Well, then it's good that you came in, and, there's no promises that can be made in therapy, but the kinds of things that you're describing, I can tell you we know a lot about these kinds of things that you're describing, struggling with, and have some strategies that may actually be of help. Not the easiest things, to be quite just frank about it. It's not the easiest kind of treatment to do, but we would just have a conversation about what you're trying to achieve, and we would talk about what it might look like to get there. Is that something that you would be interested in coming back next week after I've consulted, give you feedback, and then discuss what might be possible in treatment?
That sounds good.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you want to ask me about what's going to happen next before we conclude?
I had some friends, back in high school, college. Do you think I have, is this an anorexic problem? I heard about that being thrown around, but, those girls are super thin.
Yeah. So that's an excellent question, and again, I do want to consult with my supervisor to be able to give you a more comprehensive answer, but what I'll say just in brief right now is that eating disorders, including anorexia, can actually occur on more of a spectrum than people realize. There are, of course, cases where people are, painfully thin and are really in a life or death situation, but there's a whole continuum beyond that doesn't look quite like that, but can actually be, over the long haul, just as damaging, so it's quite possible.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, I really appreciate everything that you're willing to share with me. It's going to be of great help in trying to put together a treatment plan, me, my supervisor, and you, and to get a plan together and see what we can do.
Okay.
All right, so we'll see each other next week.
Great.
All right, thanks. How's it going still?
48 minutes.